Hello, and welcome to Stories from India, a podcast where we talk about myths, legends, and folk tales from India. I'm your host, Narad Muni, and I'm a mythological character myself. I have the gift of eternal life and knowledge of the past, the present, and the future. By profession, I'm a traveling musician and a storyteller. So the way I'm doing my job is by podcast. I've had some good listener feedback recently, and accordingly, I've changed the format of the show a little bit to suit your preferences. The characters of the week are now a separate mini episode by themselves. In today's mini episode, we are meeting an avatar of Vishnu. Vishnu is the preserver in the Holy Trinity, the others being Shiva the destroyer and Brahma the creator, who's also my dad. The Asurs and Devs were two races at war with each other. Emperor Bali of the Asurs, who was also the grandson of Prahlad, had just defeated the Devs, and he had captured all three realms: the earth, heaven, and hell. Understandably, the Devs who lived in heaven were not happy with this. So they appealed to Vishnu. Could he please do something about reclaiming their homes from the invaders? Of course Vishnu could do something about it. He transformed into the guise of a rishi, and a particularly short one at that. He called himself Vamana. Bali was busy offering prayers of thanks. It's quite logical to ask whom exactly he was thanking, given he had just conquered the Devs in heaven. But his offerings were more towards abstract concepts. During such prayers, kings would typically host a number of visiting rishis. It was normal for some rishis to ask for something specific if they didn't like the generic goodie bag handed out by the king. Vaman was one of those rishis. He asked Bali for just enough land that he could cover in 3 small steps. This was a very typical request. Rishis would often ask for enough land for them to build a tiny little praying space, just large enough for a tiny fire and for them to sit in front of it. Bali was just about to give him the go-ahead, but then Shukracharya stepped in. Shukracharya, or Shukra, or Friday, was the professor of the Asurs. We have met him before in episode 27, The Rise of Shukra, and episode 28, His Girl Friday. Friday had all kinds of superpowers, including the power to bring back the dead, something even the genie in Aladdin couldn't do. Amongst other things, he could see through disguises, just like Mad-Eye Moody from Harry Potter. Friday saw that Vaman was more than he seemed. He immediately warned Bali, but Bali wouldn't listen. He granted Vaman's seemingly harmless request, but he wasn't prepared for what was going to happen next. Vaman grew in size just as if someone had cast an enlargement spell. But this one worked faster than it did for Vishnu's unicorn fish avatar. Within seconds, Vaman was so large he occupied the entire world. He then took 2 more steps, one into heaven and another into hell. Bali had been tricked into transferring the ownership of the universe over to Vishnu, who then promptly transferred it over to Indra, the chief of the Devs. All this goes to show that if there's one lesson to be learned here, it is that you really should not ignore your professor's warnings. This avatar is a little bit different from Vishnu's other avatars. Most of the other cases are rescue missions. Some, like Ram and Krishna, are incredibly complex avatars that helped achieve a lot in their lifetimes. But Vaman's entire purpose is to restore the balance between the Asurs and the Devs. Narsimha, another avatar of Vishnu, did kill an Asur emperor, Hiranyakashipu, but he left Prahlad, another Asur, in charge. You can find out more about that in episode 20 and episode 21. See the link in the show notes. That's all for this mini episode. In this weekend's full episode, we'll go back to Akbar and Birbal. We have previously seen Birbal in his Sherlock Holmes persona. This time, he's going to pull a magic trick that even David Copperfield would have been proud of. If you have comments or suggestions, please leave a comment or a review on the site sfipodcast.com or tweet at sfipodcast. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook. Be sure to subscribe to the show to get notified automatically of new episodes. Thanks to all you listeners for your continued support and your feedback. The music is from purpleplanet.com. That's purple-planet.com. I'll see you this weekend.